some more antibiotics.
Go upstairs. It's probably safest for tonight.
Come on, help me. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna shoot a little boy?
Yeah.
Go.
Welcome everyone to Dead Talk Live. I want to welcome our very special guest tonight, Jaime King, who we all know as Rose from Black Summer. Jaime, thank you so much for being here with us. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing so well. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. So let's go ahead and get started. Your career started as being a very successful fashion model. You've appeared in Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, as well as walking the runways in Paris and New York. Being discovered at the age of 14, looking back now, is there anything that you would have done differently, in your fashion modeling career?
It's interesting. I started very young. I was very artistic from when I was a young child, and I think that my need to become a filmmaker was so great inside of me that I really wanted to understand and work with, some of the greatest photographers, artists, costume designers, things like that. And to me, fashion is an extraordinary language of self-expression without saying anything at all, which is, very applicable to the way that we build characters and tell stories in filmmaking. And I think I can't really look back and say I would do something different. I wouldn't suggest that people necessarily start so young, but every person is different, and I'm extraordinarily grateful because I learned so much about human beings coming from Nebraska and didn't grow up with a ton of money. So it allowed me the opportunity to really travel all over the world and observe and understand, many languages and humanity. And that's an invaluable experience for me as a storyteller.
Absolutely. And you were discovered at like the age of 14?
13.
13. Wow. I mean, for a 13-year-old being thrown into that world, I can't even imagine. Now, in 1999, you transitioned into acting. Did you have a passion for acting even while you were modeling?
I always had a passion for acting, writing, producing, cinematography, directing, any part of storytelling to me was and is, deeply ingrained in my soul. And it seemed like for me that was the next step. I had learned from all the greats in the industry that I was in, and at that time, you didn't go from being, a supermodel to a serious actor or anything like that. It was at a time where there weren't multi-hyphenates. You know what I mean? It was like you did one thing or one thing only. Just like at that time in entertainment, it was like you either did television or you did film, or it was something like that. And the brilliant writer, Daniel Waters, who wrote one of my favorite films, Heathers, had seen a photograph of me and had written a film called Happy Campers. And it was Mike DeLuca and Denise Denovi producing with him, and he reached out, and I flew out here and spent a lot of time auditioning, and that was a miracle. It was a miracle because it's what I always wanted to do. And after that I went into Blow, the film Below
with Johnny Depp.
with Johnny and Penelope Cruz and other extraordinary actors, and then it was Pearl Harbor. So it was just this very
just cascaded from there. Now you made an interesting point. Back then, you were either a model or an actress. So did you get any kind of pushback, especially from Hollywood executives, saying, "Wait a minute, you're a model. I mean, why do you want to go into acting?" I mean, any kind of pushback? Was it difficult?
You know, it's interesting. I think I got more pushback from the fashion industry.
Wow.
Because at that time I was at the height of my career, which is crazy to think about when you're barely, I was 17 years old, 17, 18. And I think that they didn't understand why, if you were, the it girl, that you would just suddenly want to stop. And again, I felt like an outsider at that point. I felt like all the education that I needed from that I had received. And I'm definitely the kind of person where if it's gone past that point where I feel like I'm really learning and growing, expanding, I can't sit in that space. It's really difficult for me. And in terms of, people in Hollywood, because I studied so diligently with extraordinary teachers, extraordinary coaches, most of my friends were, very, very, very great actors, and they really mentored me. And, even when I was in, the fashion industry, so I was well set up for understanding, how to go about the craft of acting and what it took. And I think that because I've dedicated so much of my time to really, to always refining my craft in the most nuanced and open and honest way. Going into Hollywood, I was very lucky to have the A.V. Kaufmans, the Bruckheimers, these extraordinary filmmakers and producers that supported me. And there are people that really changed my life because they saw who I was when I would go into an audition, and who I was in terms of the essence of my heart, and that it mattered very deeply to me, and they recognize that. And so it's something that I'm really thankful for.
Absolutely. And you're so talented as well. They saw not only your heart, they definitely must have seen the talent in there as well. Now, your very first big production movie, like you said, was Pearl Harbor. Starring Ben Affleck, Josh Hartnett. Going into such a big production film, did your prior experience prepare you for that, or did you go there and we're like, wow, I mean, the money that is being thrown into this thing?
It's funny because what I loved about the beginning of my career was that I did not understand the hierarchy at all. Like when I got cast in, when I was cast in Pearl Harbor, I had originally went in for the lead role that Kate Beckinsale did.
Oh.
But I was too young at the time. But Michael Bay and Jerry Bruckheimer really wanted me to do it, and there was a role that had one line, and so I spent time with Michael, and we expanded this part. And when my agents and people were like, "Oh my God, this is the biggest budget film of all time so far," I couldn't. I just wanted to act, right? I was really excited, but my head wasn't wrapped around, this is a huge budget, and I was just excited to tell this story, and excited to work with these extraordinary actors like Michael Shannon, and just the cast was insane. And when but I do remember though, when I got to set, and one of the first shots that we were doing, I think that setup must have been it was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And we only had one take, and it was the big scene where when the bombing hit, and it's running through strafing lines, and the light had to be just right. And thousands of, background, and, it just, bottom line, you couldn't mess it up.
It was crazy.
And
Yeah.
so I remember asking Michael, do you have any direction for me? And he's like, yeah, don't F it up. And so I just thought, okay, just run as fast as you can and just make it to the camera. But it's insane when you've never been around explosions or all of these, everyone chaos. And it was just like, whew. But it was it's that kind of feeling that you have when you're, when you're acting. And, I say a lot, all we have is between action and cut. And for me, that's where I feel a kind of presence that is so exhilarating.
You feel at home.
Completely at home. And it's so interesting that you said that, because the first time that I came out to Los Angeles and I went to the Fox Studios, and I'd never been on a lot before. And I'll never forget walking through the lot, and I was looking at this very old, painting. It was like Marilyn and, other fine actors on this huge wall. And I took a breath and I was like, what is this feeling? And my body was so relaxed. And I was like, oh my God, I'm home.
Yeah. That's awesome. That is so awesome. Wow. Now, your first big venture into the horror genre was in a 2007 movie called They Wait. You were the leading star. Yes. Is that where you found the attraction to the horror genre, because you've appeared in so many horror flicks after that? Was that the spark?
Honestly, I think the spark for horror for me was The Shining. Seeing particular films by these extraordinary auteurs that were able to tap into a psyche in a particular way, while telling something that was deeply personal to them. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's something about there's just something about giving an audience the opportunity to experience something outside of themselves. Yeah. I think through horror or through genre films, it's a beautiful way for people to explore not only like their own inner experiences, their own fears, worries, anxieties, concerns, but in a way that releases, adrenaline and dopamine and like all of it.
I totally get it. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get it.
It like keeps you here, and again, I would really say that the vehicle of that is to create the tension, right, and then release the tension, then creating tension, then releasing it, and it's just to me a kind of genre that you can blend with so many other genres, and it's universal.
That is so great. Now, you still have some ties to the fashion industry. For example, you've appeared as a judge on Project Runway. Do you still have a lot of ties to the fashion world?
I inherently do, because of my very close relationships with the houses or with particular designers that I worked for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And obviously, pre-COVID especially, when you're going to premieres and press tours and things like that, those relationships stay very present. And when I did Project Runway, they had asked me to do it many, many times before, and it was just the right time. And it was with a dear friend of mine, Zach Posen, who was on it as well. Mm-hmm. But when it's interesting because when I stopped modeling, I said I would never do fashion again, period. And when I would get, offers for huge campaigns and magazines, things like that, unless it had to do specifically with promoting a project that I was in, I wouldn't do it. I think the first campaign that I did with fashion was Revlon, and that was because it was with other actors, Halle mm-hmm. Berry and Eva Mendes and Julianne Moore, and then as I got older and the fashion and film world collided more and more, I felt much more open to the process because I was clearly established in, as a filmmaker rather than what I was doing before. But I knew somehow inside of me that there could be no wavering, that I really wasn't interested. I just wanted to make films, and now it's fun when I get to, to be a part of both worlds in an artistic way.
And speaking of that, you have friends in many different aspects of the entertainment industry, including music. Taylor Swift is a good friend of yours. And not only that, isn't she godmother to your son?
Yes.
I mean, how did you and Taylor end up meeting?
We ended up meeting at the Golden Globes, and she was a fan of mine, and she came up to me, and I honestly, I really didn't know her music. I obviously knew her name, but I really hadn't listened to her music, and she asked if I would come over for tea, and she had seen a video that I did with a dear friend of mine, Lana Del Rey, and she wanted to know more about that and creative advice, and we just became very fast friends. And some of my closest friends are musicians. Music to me is a universal language, if not the most powerful language. And I think that there's something about musicians that understand filmmakers.
Well, never thought of it that way before. You have worked with some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Like I said, you have a long and distinguished resume in movies. Is there a particular project that you have the fondest memories of?
Oh, wow. Honestly, from the beginning or now?
For throughout your whole career. Like one that you look back on and like, wow, that was a good one.
There's several that are very precious to me. I immediately go to Black Summer.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately go to Black Summer because that is a culmination of all of my life's work thus far. A kind of freedom that Netflix has given us to tell this story in the most profoundly honest, real, exciting, dangerous, intimate, radical way. Everyone from our camera op to Justin, to Carrie and Christine Lee, like our cast is so extraordinary, and our bow down to our leader and showrunner John Himes. It's Black Summer has changed my life forever.
It's amazing.
Truly, like, it's changed my life forever in terms of the way that we work, from our AD Chelsea to, literally, every single person on this crew and on this cast. It's sort of one of those experiences where you're always sort of like, is this really happening? Like, are we in a dream? Or do we really get to do 12-minute long takes and rehearse for 4 hours? It doesn't happen. And so it's, to me, Black Summer is alchemy, right? And it's and that has been possible from previous experiences that I've had on other films that taught me so much. Robert Rodriguez is another hero of mine. He really taught me how to trust myself. He taught me about thinking radically, and when he wanted to do Sin City, at that time Frank Miller wouldn't give up property to anyone. So Robert shot the opening scene with Marley and Josh Hartnett and spent his own money doing it, obviously on green screen, and brought it to Frank, and Frank said yes. And so I got a call when I was doing White Chicks, which was another pivotal experience for me, with Keenan Ivory Wayans, who talk about teaching
funny.
someone. I really wanted to learn comedy, when from the masters, and I'll never forget what he said to me one time. And he said, there's no room for vanity in comedy. And he, which is, there's no room for vanity anywhere in acting. And he would push us so far, and he's like, I want you to go so far over the top and trust that I'm going to pull you back if necessary. And it's the same. I think there is like a thread between these kinds of filmmakers, because Robert, there was a scene that I was doing with Mickey Rourke in a car, like a chase scene, and I'm shooting guns and I have a cigarette out of my lips and this whole thing, and yet the car wasn't moving. It barely moved, and the wind blowing and a green screen, and like I'm like Robert, I feel like an asshole. Like I don't even know what's happening right now. And he's like, you have to trust me. You have to trust me, because again, no film had been made in that manner before, and I think it's
revolutionary in a way.
Oh, completely revolutionary. And those filmmakers, those showrunners, the actors that I've learned from, even recently, when we were one of the first shows back up for Netflix for Black Summer, and there's all these new rules with filming, zoning rules, quarantine. I mean, it's really hardcore. You're taking an intimate experience, and it becomes very medical, and but like our crew handled it so well. And sometimes it could be like a little disorienting. And I think on that day, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and on this particular day when this seemingly very simple thing happened, but we were doing a big sequence that was really important, and I didn't understand a blocking, right? So it was like I was supposed to move from one spot, and they wanted me to go diagonal, and I was like, well, why would I go from here there, right?
Uh-huh.
It didn't make sense. And then Justin Drew Carey, I said, Jay, I'm like, I don't know why this move in my body felt wrong. Like it didn't seem like I had a purpose to moving that way. And I think, if you're an actor out there, you understand what I mean. Like your body will intuitively tell you which way to go. Mm-hmm. And Justin said, "Oh, you're moving that way because you're protecting your daughter. Oh. Like you're staying in front of your daughter." And I was like, "Oh my God, thank you," because there were so many elements in this scene. And of course, one would think, well, wouldn't you know that you're protecting your daughter in that way? But there was a piece of the blocking that I wasn't on set for, so I didn't know why we were making that move. Gotcha. But it's those little moments that seem so little, but they're not, because it's when your cast has your back like that, and when they share something that it just feels like, just sharing information, right? Pacino too, when I did Two for the Money, which kind of reminds me of, what Keenan said about just go big and I'll pull you back. And I flew up early to watch him rehearse. And
Pacino.
Yeah, Al Pacino. And so I would go to set every day for a week before I even started, just to watch him. And he would start every rehearsal screaming like, and like what, like making his body big and big. And then with each one, bring it in. And then I asked him why he did that. And he said, I'm getting all the bad choices out of me.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah. I mean, I just have this image now of Al Pacino, because how many times have we seen him screaming on the set, on a film? And wow, that's just an interesting method that he has to, like, what did he say? To get all the bad stuff out of him?
He said, I do it to get all the bad choices out.
Wow.
So wow. because I used to get so freaked, like wonder when I first started, am I the only one that's terrified? Why am I was terrified before I go into like first day or into something? And then I really learned, from some of the greatest actors of all time, that they're always terrified. And so if they weren't, then it wouldn't mean something to them. That fear, that anxiety, that terror comes from, it has the same physiological response as excitement. So then you tell yourself, oh, okay, this is because it matters that much to me. And then you can learn tricks and tools and processes to relax the body, to breathe. Every actor has many different processes and ways of getting into characters, and that consistently, I think, develops and expands. So to get all the bad choices out, I think, is getting out all the nervous energy, so then you can start refining it from there.
Wow, that is so awesome. Now let's go back to the beginning of Black Summer. How did you first hear that Netflix was putting together this zombie show, and how did you go about auditioning or getting the audition? How did that all come about?
I didn't know it was a zombie show because there was no, they didn't even use the word zombie in the script. I was actually in Paris at the time working. I was sent the script and they said, that they wanted to offer it to me. And there was sort of a back and forth about, what the filmmaker wanted. And, they wanted to hire, originally John Hymes wanted to hire, I believe, like an unknown. And this, they needed the right person that had a name. But, what I love about John is he's very determined on who can really, obviously, as he should be as a brilliant filmmaker, capture what it is that he wanted. And there was sort of like a back and forth about that. I didn't have to go in and, I could just have the offer. And I remember saying to my manager, like, I'm not doing that. Like, I want to go in. I want to go in because that's how much I love this. I want to go in and know exactly what this man wants. And I did like one take and the casting director was like, done, perfect. We got it. We're good. We're doing this. And I was like, whoa, slow down. I was like, no, I can't, like I really wanted, there was just this like inherent need that I had to tap into Rose and into the story in a way that would bring it to life for the filmmaker. I just don't know how to describe like how much that meant to me without ever meeting him or talking to him. And I was like, hold up. I just want to do it one more time. He's like, you don't need to. You got this. We're good. And I was like, whoa, like relax. And I was like, what is it? Because you've brought in, I'm sure, like hundreds of people, unknowns or whomever. What is it? That
attracted you,
that John wants, that he's not seeing. And he said, well, people are playing it overly emotional.
Oh.
And I said, okay, I want to do it again. He's like, you weren't doing that. You weren't playing it overly emotional, because they'd be crying and screaming, all this stuff. And I was like, let me just do it one more time. And, which is a funny thing. I don't think most actors are like, yeah, let me go again. If they know that they pretty much, already have the part.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that that's part of the integrity that you need to have.
To the craft itself.
Because parts are like, to me, they're like fingerprints. Everybody's fingerprint is different, and I do believe in abundance, and if it's supposed to be for me, it will be for me, and if not, I'd much prefer to see another actor bring it to life. Mm-hmm. It's so extraordinary to watch other actors. It never ceases to amaze me. But I did it again, and I remember thinking, because I'm very have very easy access to my emotions, and so I have to cover a lot, because it's always sort of hitting right here. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, let me just push every feeling I have down into my stomach and just see what that feels like.
Wow.
Even though he thought I wasn't overly emotional at all, I just wanted to experience that for myself. And then, got on the phone with John that day, and we spoke, I think, for like 5 or 6 hours, and like that was that. Just
out of curiosity, did they let you do it again? And what did they think about it the second time you did it?
Oh yeah, he let me do it again. He did, but he just said I didn't need to. He's like, no, you nailed it, you got it, it's yours. I'm like, whoa. But I don't know why, I just had this really strong need to protect John and to protect the story. And so it was, I just don't know how to describe it. There are just some souls, there's some people that it's like you've known them for,
forever,
forever and ever and ever.
Yesterday we had Justin Chukari on the show, your co-star.
My boy.
Yeah, he's awesome. And he said for the Spears character, they were originally looking for someone older, more like a Mickey Rourke type of character. Yeah. I told him, man, I'm glad. I love Mickey Rourke. I'm a huge Mickey Rourke fan, but I think Justin as Spears, he nailed it.
Oh man, Justin is a force to be reckoned with, and he's so I mean, it kind of makes me want to cry. 'Cause, he's just, there are certain actors when you're in the scene with them that it's just like this kind of chemistry and relationship that is so powerful. And there were several moments where, in first season we were not supposed to be romantic in any way, shape, or form, but because our chemistry connection with one another is so strong, it would read on camera as wait, are they lovers or not lovers? And it's just sometimes you just have that, again, that connection. And when they wanted to cast someone like a Mickey Rourke for that part, and when Justin came in for that part and auditioned, he brought in, because John and I were talking about this, it was this swag, right? And not just a swag, but a kind of this almost a humor, right? And a humor in a way where it's you like this guy, but you don't know, can you trust him? Can you not trust him? He took that role, flipped it on its head, and just did it just in this way that just felt like slick without playing slick.
Exactly.
It's there's always something, and yet earns your trust.
Exactly. And the way I described it to Justin yesterday is the same way you just described it now. You two on the screen had this chemistry, not so much in what you said, but what you didn't say. And just your physical responses to one another is what made the interaction between Spears and Rose so amazing. And it worked. It clicked.
It's so interesting. Yeah, it really, we had never met until we had one rehearsal. We met on set, had barely a rehearsal before we were rolling, and there's this one moment that I really love that was not intended, and Justin and I have spoken about this before because we didn't know each other, we didn't talk about this scene beforehand or anything like it, but it was the first episode where I lose someone very significant to me, if you haven't seen the show. And I remember being in such a state of shock in the moment, because again, when they call action, it's such an out-of-body experience, because you're so present. It's you're so in your body, but you're so out of your body because you're just there, like a vessel. And I remember walking towards him, not even looking at the body of this person that I loved, in such stunned shock. And I remember just falling into his arms, and you can see it on screen now, because I fell into his arms, and Justin was not expecting that. I wasn't expecting to do it, so you can see him try and pull away, because I think he didn't what to do, and then
he didn't know how to react.
And then we held each other, and it became this very intimate experience. And there are just certain actors that you just have that this kind of visceral intuition response to one another. And what I love so much about our show is that we really we show through behavior rather than saying, and we strip away as much dialogue as possible, because the audience doesn't need to be told how to feel. To me, it's about just doing it and allowing the audience to ask questions for themselves, to interpret it the way that they want to come away from it hopefully seeing some part of themselves on the screen. I act because, and I make films because I want people to know that they're not alone.
Exactly.
And that's why films changed my life growing up, because I would see on screen aspects of me that let me know that I was not alone in the world.
That's so awesome. What is it about Rose's character that you admire the most?
Her extreme vigilance, adaptability, loyalty, and
Determination, I would say.
extreme, extreme, extreme determination, and like with Justin's character, that, like, there are things that happen that could, throw her trust off, or but there's something about Rose that moves from a real place, from it doesn't matter what the world is saying, she's gonna go with that, like what she's feeling,
Her gut. She's going to
her
follow her
gut,
gut.
and an innate understanding, like somehow, like a real clear, it's just an intuition about human beings. So even if other people are saying, oh, that person's a horrible person, they did this in their history, that in their history, she sees people in a bigger way than that.
I mean, Rose went through a real transformation throughout the first, the season, 7
Oh,
episodes, from wanting to save the kids in the school. And then we see you make that real tough decision in a split second to take out Velez,
yes.
as, do you think that even surprised Rose as a character, that she was even capable of doing that sort of stuff?
Yeah, and it surprised me even when I was doing that scene. Like, when I did that, I remember stumbling back. Actually got really hurt in that scene. I stumbled back because my whole body was just like in shock. And the will of a mother.
Yes.
That is the will, and also the will of a mother. And if you are a mother like I am, or a parent, you are willing, there is nothing that will stop you from protecting your child. And also, other people around you become like children to you in a way, right? And so what she did to Velez was not only because he wasn't going to make it.
No, no.
And it's interesting because in that scene that they didn't show, they cut this part out, but I needed it for me, and I knew that they weren't going to use it, because I asked Sal to just say it to me, quietly,
Hmm.
in the scene, and I said, just say, I think it was something like, I was like, can you just say, do it? You have 2 seconds.
Wow.
I needed the actor. I needed him to give me permission in that moment, so that I could do it, right? Knowing that they wouldn't use that audio, and they wouldn't see it because the camera was on me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just there are things that we do, actor to actor, to support one another. But I almost needed him to give me that permission,
To be able to pull the trigger.
to be able to pull the trigger.
What would you say throughout that first season was Rose's big pivot moment, that she went to that finale of killing Velez from the suburban housewife whose husband is dying in the beginning? What there in between? Was it the school, those kids, you preventing Spears from killing the kids? What moment would you say in the first season of Rose's arc was that pivot?
It's interesting because when you see, even in the first episode, in that scene with my husband, right, and that was ironically the scene that I did in the room when I went in.
Mm-hmm.
The language that she used was like, I need you, I can't do this without you, right, to him. And then it was like, then she sucks it up because she ultimately knows this is the final moment, and she's like, okay, she's looking for the solution. We're going to do it. I'm going to get you there. I'm going to get us there. I will get us there. Like there was already some kind of inherent determination with her, right? And then with the moment with Spears, she's asking, please help me, I'll help you, I'll help you. So there was that bond formed of, like they're both helping each other, right? But she hasn't yet come into the fullness of the understanding of how to do that, right? Because she's still so compassionate. And then, with Mustafa's character, the kids in the school was really like, every episode is sort of an homage, not only thematically, but like to other films that, we love. And that one was, an idea of like Lord of the Flies, what happens when kids have to go through this kind of trauma? What does that kind of thing look like? And I think the horror of seeing these children having to fend for themselves and what they did, and then what happened to his character, that she's trying to protect everyone, was just like, and the moment with, I think for me, the very pivotal moment was when they were walking down the tunnel.
Exactly. And that's what
and that, when they are, trying to convince me, these cops, this military, whatever you want to call them, that, this person who I have been inseparable with, who, saved my life and I saved his, and, been on this journey with, it was like, no, you're done.
And I was going to ask you that. That was going to be my next question. In that pivotal tunnel scene, okay, you see the military. Justin said yesterday that they might not have been military. They could have been impersonators. You guys did not know.
Didn't know.
Yeah, and they're dragging Spears away, and you confront them. They are not pointing their guns at you. They are not a threat to you. In fact, as they're carting him away, they're still telling Rose, we will deliver you to the stadium. But this is a bad guy right here. But yet, you make that gut decision and you take out the soldiers to save Spears. I mean, yes. How do you explain what was going through Rose's mind at that moment?
It's funny because when I'm acting, it's not just me playing a character. There's Rose and then there's me, and it's merging my consciousness and her consciousness, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes characters so unique, and why I say that we're all like fingerprints, right? We're all so different. For me personally, I was born with a radical need to protect and to do anything about injustice or what I felt was unjust or authority, abuse of power.
I totally understand. I feel the same way.
Abuse of power, right? And so you're there taking, a Black Asian man, dragging him down a tunnel, promising, a white woman of blah, 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 blah. And inside of Jaime, my immediate was like, nah, motherfuckers, right? Like,
this is wrong.
It's wrong. And I have that. It's like a fire. It's something I can't shut off. I have that personally. It's really a very intense and an important thing for me. And so with Rose, I just remember feeling in that moment that real beautiful collision of her, not, I wouldn't say collision, but like this powerful moment of me and her, through me together, of this man has my back. Like this man and I have been through things that they have no idea about. And so, these guys, like whoever these people are, there's no way that I'm going to let them take him.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some of your other co-stars on the show. Sun, Kyung Sung, played by Christine. What did you think of her portrayal? Because to be honest, you were the biggest name on that show. You were the most famous. A lot of the other cast members, they've been in the industry, but are still fairly new. It was
She's
you and
electric. She's like so dynamic and riveting, and like, whew, like you see her and she just like pops off the screen, you know?
exactly,
And it was
exactly.
so amazing because like Netflix didn't make us have subtitles. When we didn't want to use subtitles, like we didn't have to do that. And again, it shows the power of great actors, the power of humanity, the power that we understand each other even if we don't speak
The
the same
language.
language. And the way that the spirit moves through her, the way that she is so committed in each moment, and so like just so present. It's like watching her performance was so exciting because like this is someone that was really unknown, and so it's like, oh my god, who is that chick? Like, she's dope.
And she's
you know
presented to us, and we as viewers, like, okay, here's a woman. She can't speak English. She's not going to make it out of this very first episode. But
Yep.
yet, she is one of the last ones standing because she
Yes.
is so damn. She's smart. She's brilliant.
So smart.
And she's a survivor.
Exactly. And and also this really also is an exploration of culture
Mm-hmm.
and where people are coming from and their own experiences. And in that first scene, you see they rip her out of the line because she's not white. Like,
Exactly.
so. And then there are so many areas that are covered here, from immigration, race, creeds, colors, situations, circumstance, environments, politics, like so many injustices. And that's why I fell in love with this, and that's why I feel so blessed to have these extraordinary actors that are sharing their life experiences through their characters in a way that is just, whew, it just blows my mind.
Mine too. Now, I said this to Justin. I'm going to ask it to you as well. The first 6 episodes are regular length, almost 1 hour episodes. The last one, I think they did it great. It was just a 20-plus minute episode, action from the first second to the last second. What did you think about them making the last episode short like that? Basically removing all the fluff.
Well, I mean, we always wanted to distill, and tell this story in a way that was like a visual novel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I mean, I think it's brilliant. And what's so great about doing a show like this is that it doesn't have to be 42 minutes like network television. It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be a minimum of an hour and a half for a feature. We are able to play with lengths of time, and that nonstop experience, and especially with the way that we shoot it in very long oneers.
Yeah.
And props to Euron Levy, and props to Wes Moran, like, and our whole camera crew, our best boys, our like focus point, like they're just like extraordinary. The shots that they do, like, there are other scene partners, because we're able to shoot in a way that it's almost like you can't breathe because you're so immersed in it, because there's not all these quick cuts all the time. And so to be able to do that, like hitting the ground running all the way through, it takes John Himes and the people he brought together to create this, and giving them permission to really go there.
Absolutely. Now, when you saw, as an actor, there's a difference when you're there shooting it to when you see the final product. When you saw the final product, and particularly that finale and the action that was nonstop, what did you think? First of all, did the zombies, the rage zombies, the way they ran at you, did they scare you as a viewer? If you were to take yourself out of, okay, I'm in this show. If you were to take yourself out of that, put yourself into a fan's perspective, and you're watching the final product on the screen, did it scare you at all?
Yeah. And I also produce the show.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, so I see multiple cuts and dailies, and so even when you're acting and producing and you're involved in the whole process of it, when you can then sit and then watch it when it's up there, even though you've seen the episodes, countless times, and you're just like completely enthralled, that I mean, to me, that's like, that's it, man.
It's
Like
terrifying.
that's what we go for, because normally I'm like critiquing something or this or that, with other things that, from, it's just a rare experience, and that's what I love about the most. Get ready for season 2. You think season 2 was great? This is gonna.
I know. And we're going to talk about that now. When season 1 ended, now Justin said yesterday, you guys officially wrapped shooting about a month ago of season 2.
Yes,
now,
October 21st.
Now, when you guys were done with season 1, you being also a producer on the show, did you guys know there was going to be a season 2, or was it, let's wait and see how the show does on Netflix, and then you found out soon after it got released on Netflix, like, yeah, you guys are coming back for a season 2?
Yes, I my contract had, before I started season 1, was for several years.
Okay.
And when it came out and was extraordinarily successful, we knew right away. And then it was, getting everything set up and organized, and
Absolutely.
all that good stuff.
As an actress, how would you explain filming in the COVID pandemic age that we're living in right now, as opposed to what it used to be like?
How do I describe it? I mean, it feels like, in a strange way, like on our show, it felt like we were pioneers in a brave new world, because, we were going, on essential workers visas. There were 7 Americans going up to Canada for the first time, quarantining, away from our families, not able to have anyone travel with us, like, very, very strict rules. You're isolated, you can't touch each other. The cast is separated, from everyone, really, except for, whoever's in the performer zone. I was then isolated. I was even isolated from my cast. They had me in another zone.
Wow.
And it was very strange, because, when you're producing and acting, I wasn't allowed to go on a set on days where I wasn't, quote unquote, on camera. And I'm used to being on set every day at the monitor, going from unit to unit, watching, everything. That's my job. And so that part was pretty jarring. And, but because of the closeness between, our cast members and our crew, I knew in my heart that if anyone could get through this, and with Netflix, I knew that we had what it took to do that, and having the comfort of this family. I think really we were able to take it very seriously and find the moments of humor in it. And I think we're just so happy to be together, and yet, there were a lot of challenges to being alone for so long, and, protocols and things like that. But again, like, it was just one of those things where we had all the people that had enough, not just enough, but an extraordinary malleability, to say, hey, we're back here, we're doing this, we're going to make it happen, and we'll accept every single rule. And knowing that if we got through this, right, and wrap this thing, then it's not just wrapping our show, it's then giving more opportunity for our industry to get back up, right? Because
To get back on its feet,
yeah, to be one of the first things back up, when no one's filming, is like an extraordinary responsibility. And again, it's not just because it's our show, it's every production that gets through COVID and gets through COVID clean, allows for more productions to go back up. And I don't even think our industry is up at like, it's not even at 20% capacity
No,
yet, right?
no.
And and then a lot of things that we learned, like there again, we do like really dangerous long shots, and when you're wearing goggles and they're fogging up, and what do you do about the goggles when it comes to physical safety, or the potential of getting sick, like all of these different things that we learn through trial and error. And one thing I love about the Safeway protocols for the guilds that were put together to get productions back up is one of the last paragraphs, and it was about the importance of anyone that gets a chance to go back up, please share all the information, because we all have to come together as a community to do this. And art heals, and we need content. We need to put stories out. Throughout the beginning of time, we've used storytelling to bring together families and communities, and now more than ever with what's going on.
Exactly. People need it, whether you want to call it a distraction, arts and entertainment. We need that. We need that in our
Communion,
lives.
connection. Like, look at, as simple as like what Game of Thrones did for people, and like the sorrow and the grief of when that was ending, because it was a conversation like people could have globally, online, on social media. It's like the way that we connect, right? And after Black Summer, I went back to LA for about 3 days, and then went to do my film called Out of Death with Bruce Willis.
Yes.
And then I came from like the highest standards of protocols, and was so familiar with everything. And then going to another set that really knowing that information was a huge, because it helped prevent so many different things, or things that could have set production back. And it
was just valuable to get that background, bring it with you onto the set.
100%.
Now, we only have a few moments left, but what if you were to use one word to describe this upcoming season 2 of Black Summer? Which word would you pick? Just one word. I mean, Justin said yesterday it's going to be a ride, that we should, get buckled in for it, because it's wild.
Oh, it's so hard.
Well, season 1 was very dark. Does it get darker than season 1, or?
This, I like that. There's no way to describe it. It is extraordinary.
I think stronger than a word is the lack of words you can come up with that describes it better to us than any single word.
I'm left ineffable.
Yeah.
I can't, there are no words to describe. I've never had an experience before in my entire career of the exhilaration, freedom, power of communion, connection. It's just like, it's so timely. It's almost like it's the most present. I don't know.
It's precious. It's precious. Now, as the last question, are we going to?
Transcendent.
There you go. Is it going to be coming to us anytime soon? Spring, maybe, of 21? Do you know a time frame around?
Yes, it's going to be coming soon.
Soon. Okay. Well, that's good enough. Hopefully it'll be here by the spring. Anyway, we're out of time. Jaime, I got to admit, this has been one of the most fascinating conversations I've had, and I've done a lot of these over the last 8 months. You have been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me and for supporting us. And I'm so glad Justin was on last night, and you should have Christine on.
Yeah, I'm gonna get all you guys on, and Justin has agreed to come back as well after season 2.
I would love to come back anytime.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been a fascinating interview. I want to thank all of our viewers for tuning in. like I mean it. This has been one of the most fascinating interviews. I can't believe an hour just flew by like that. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Jamie, thank you so much for being with
Thank
us.
you.
Everybody, please stay safe. Do you have any final
Stay safe,
thoughts?
everyone.
Do you have any
Any
final
final thoughts? Oh, I'm just thankful to share with everyone, and I'm thankful to talk to you. And yeah, this is the stuff I live for. It's for all the story lovers out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Till tomorrow, guys. Remember, stay walking. Good night.
Amen.